Out in the deep blue, seeing the ocean's wild inhabitants can be a magical experience.
These are wide-ranging, intelligent, socially complex predators. You can't forget when you see an orca breach right in front of you. They go, and that sound is just absolutely evocative. It's life. They're breathing.
But these majestic creatures, along with other marine life, are being hunted to supply an unprecedented demand for entertainment in China.
What we're seeing in China is a very rapid, explosive growth with big, elaborate marine theme parks. And a lot of these places do not have the expertise to be doing what they're doing.
And inside these popular aquariums, we find evidence of widespread neglect and abuse. I'm Steve Chow. On this episode of 101 East, we go behind the scenes of China's marine theme parks and expose the dark side they don't want you to see.
Miss Worldwide, let's celebrate.
It's a weekday at an aquatic center in Dalian, China, and the stands are packed. Center stage are dolphins, whose flips and high-flying abilities wowed the crowd. While these shows have been common in Western countries for decades, in China, aquariums are new and exotic. Places where the growing middle class can get close to wild animals and be entertained. But for the animals in China's marine theme parks, insiders tell us pleasing the crowd takes a heavy toll.
他们的待遇条件太差了吧，跟他们自己在野外生存的那种环境可能不太符。死了多少啊，海豚？
我来了之后就已经死了4个。
所有的人的目的就是为了盈利，他而不是说来保护动物来做这方面。
Over 2 years, 101 East investigated China's multi-billion-dollar aquarium industry, examining more than 15 marine parks and interviewing more than a dozen insiders. We uncovered widespread abuse.
因为我从小的时候就特别喜欢各种各样的小动物。
Bing worked at 2 of these aquariums, training seals and dolphins.
然后也算是完成了自己的一个梦想，因为我一直觉得这工作就像，可以说就像很神圣，而且也很梦幻、很童话。
你进去工作的时候，是像你之前想法吗？
这不是一件幸福的事情，我觉得这是一件很残忍的事情。所以说，我觉得有必要出来发声，让更多的人了解这个行业是什么样的行情。
Rather than happy, cooperative animals, Bing says he found them often sick and distressed. When they weren't performing, he was ordered to lock seals in tiny cages. And dolphins that would normally swim hundreds of kilometers a day in the wild were constrained in tiny tanks.
对一个真正热爱动物来说，这是一个挺残忍的事情，让一个动物每天做着自己不想做的事情，在一个非常狭小空间，这根本不是动物园，它只是一个动物的囚禁场所，它的监狱。经常就是比如说出现那个动物在就是前期的时候，它根本不想去表演，可能它今天有一些不舒服什么的，大家赶着那个动物让它出去，被迫表演。
Park staff tell us beating them with sticks is common practice. And that's not all. Bing says the performances are physically punishing.
你想一天我要有4场表演，我1个月下来30天，这就是120场表演。一个月我要从事120回同样的动作、同样的想法，来才能获取我生存所需的一些鱼呀、一些虾呀这些食物。 其实我觉得这些动物每天活的都是挺辛苦、挺惨的。
And a pretty miserable death. At one aquarium, our investigation found a freezer full of carcasses. A secretly recorded conversation with the marine park's vet reveals how they died.
3个是表演的属地是类似的，就是他太累了之后，就有可能肠子扭转啊什么的嘛。他做这些动作，力气就是一下子爆发力爆发得很严重哦。他承受不了，肠子都。
The vet goes further, asking to keep the high rates of premature deaths under wraps.
这些只能我们自己单位的人说一下，知道。单位外面的人听到又说我们虐待动物啊什么的。是啊，确实啊。
More secretly recorded footage reveals sick turtles unfed and dumped in bins. We also discover Arctic foxes on display in obvious distress.
我看到
This man we'll call Lee was responsible for feeding and caring for animals at a major marine park. The degree of suffering he discovered shocked him.
这个动物的命运挺惨的。
你心会疼吗？
说实话，我心还是受很大的触动的。因为我们平时能够在电视上或者在海洋馆见到的都是比较健康的动物嘛，但是我一接触到这个，就会看到一些动物生病啊，我就觉得如果是我自己的话，我自己要这样的话，我可能会觉得我自己很悲哀，很惨，自己还要表演，要取乐别人，然后到头来自己就因为表演，结果累得太惨了，然后自己丧失了性命。
Lee filmed dozens of seals blind from cataracts and suffering from skin diseases. Too sick to be shown to the public, they are left in shallow, dirty water in areas called dying rooms.
他们留他们待在那里多久？
有1年多的时间了吧。因为我听说的是有人举报嘛，因为海豹生病，他们有白内障，然后可能他们觉得不适合展出了。我听同事说的意思是，要展出可能不太可能，因为考虑到怕有人举报。
Trainer Ah Bing confirms what Lee found and blames the blindness not only on lack of natural light, but on the aquarium shows themselves.
完全靠的都是那些灯光，人工的灯光来照射，因为它是需要给人展示，加上游客的闪光灯，它不停地闪到他的眼睛。就是我10头里面可能有5头这些动物在长期的圈养情况下都会出现这种情况，对。
And he says the marine parks failed to provide anything close to adequate care for their animals.
They have to be able to submerge. And these guys seem to be sitting on the bottom of the tank and they're halfway out of the water.
We show these images to Naomi Rose, one of the world's most well-known marine mammal scientists.
Well, yeah. They're swimming in their own feces. That looks like almost like a concentration camp. They're being cruel to these animals to keep them there permanently. That's just cruel. And it wouldn't meet the standards in the US or Europe or anything like that.
But in China, there are no national laws against mistreating animals. For decades, Naomi's documented the treatment of captive animals around the world. She and other animal welfare activists have visited dozens of facilities in China and say they've never seen such bad conditions.
Several of the facilities that I visited were very young. They were only, 5, 6, 7 years old. And I was surprised because they looked like they were 30 or 40 years old. Both in terms of their design, it was very old-fashioned, small, circular tanks, which just it's not done anymore. And they were just degrading. They were rusting, they were chipping, they were crumbling. You know, concrete was actually crumbling in a 6-year-old facility.
And that crumbling infrastructure is having a devastating impact on the health of animals. In one case, dolphins and belugas playing with and ingesting paint and other debris.
When they start doing this sort of repetitive behavior with a found object, which is in this case, a paint chip, which could be toxic, it is indicative of failed husbandry. I mean, how many times are they eating paint chips a day? It doesn't have to be a particularly toxic paint for that to become an issue.
Throughout our investigation, we found an industry that publicly appears to care for animals. But in private, treats them very differently.
然后我也会跟同事说，我说这样子的话，动物是不是太可怜了？他们说没办法，他们都是要赚钱的。
And a lot of people want a share of these profits. The number of aquariums being built is growing astronomically. A few years ago, there were only a handful of these places in China. Today, there are more than 60 multi-million-dollar marine theme parks, with about a dozen more being built. Nowhere else on the planet have so many marine animals been taken from the wild and put on display. Aquariums here each boast of having, on average, 20,000 species of marine life. Even malls are getting into the business. Workers tell us the treatment there is even worse.
This is a never-ending cycle of death for the animals in the wild, where they're just being taken and siphoned off from their natural populations, put into boxes in China, they die, and more come in. So this is just a one-way conveyor belt, and it ends in death at the other end. This is supposed to be entertaining?
We asked the aquariums we investigated, and the government ministries supervising them, to respond to our findings of mistreatment. They all declined. To find out how the parks source their animals, we put on hidden cameras and meet a key industry advisor. He's helped many aquariums acquire their marine mammals from around the world.
日本已经没有海豚了，它现在日本没有就是在库存的没有，你要另外再 order 哈。但是有非洲现在有的海豚。
非洲有海豚 ，OK。
非洲有海豚，那它有一个价格，但是我价格因为要他报给你才算。
We've told them we're developers looking to set up a marine park.
俄罗斯的话，它是25万美金一只。
25万海牛。
海牛。Mandy， 可是你们是要加3万。因为你们不是那个original order。
对。那个 sea cow 好养容易养吗
？sea cow 当然是比海豚，因为它比较英文叫做sluggish。
After buying the animals, the consultant advises us that to get them into China, we will have to bribe quarantine officers.
但是没有这么容易啊，因为我帮忙过这些事情，那个检疫局的人或者他还是会收你一些钱。那但这个部分就是 under table 自己去做了。可是在 official 至少。
While there seems to be no problem buying the animals, in another meeting, he warns us to avoid the failings of other marine parks in China.
我有跟他们讲过说，他们做的这个设备啊，水族馆设备啊，都没有达到标准，会让那个生物死掉。帮忙他们设计这个水族馆的，他跟我回答的话，我实在是没有话讲。他说没有问题啊，他死掉他只要这个过年和寒假和暑假和过年赚完了，他再死没有关系，他再买就好，他还是可以。He still makes money.
是这样子。
他其实不 care 这个生物是不是可以。
是啊，是这样子。
因为它消耗还是可以。
Because the marine parks view their animals as disposable, he says many don't invest in skilled staff.
我觉得他们很多那个 training 是土法炼钢的，他没有像外国那么有科学的，没有那个经验吧。
我们当时有几个要求，一就是会游泳。
Former trainer Bing confirms marine park workers don't need much experience. To his surprise, this even included the vets.
兽医据我了解，大多数都是从一些，比如说之前，从事畜牧业的兽医啊，就养猪、养牛这种类型的兽医，要不很多都是宠物店，然后也是在这个进入海洋馆之后，然后再慢慢摸索、慢慢去学，然后来学到的。
One marine park even left the veterinary care up to trainers like him.
确实应该有一个兽医来每天观察他们的状态，然后来根据实际情况来进行一个处理，而不是像我们这种非专业人士随便的说，看他假如我怎么着了，我给他吃几片这个药就没问题了。
Bing says he was astounded to be put in charge of dozens of animals. He had no qualifications or training and was just a university student, studying accounting.
觉得很诧异，因为我觉得在没从事的时候，我觉得这个应该是一个非常精准，而且养这些海洋哺乳动物应该是一个非常精细的活，而且是一个非常专业的活。然后现在弄的就是就像自己家养的一条小狗似的，而且还不是那种宠物狗，是那种在村子里面散养的那种小土狗那种感觉。
The lack of training has Naomi Rose not only worried about the animals, but also the aquarium employees.
So it looks like this scuba diver is scrubbing the bottom of the tank. To the whale, obviously, this is all a game, but the diver's in a vulnerable position. What if the whale, look, he could potentially just pull the guy's regulator right out of his mouth. None of that's appropriate.
She says some practices she sees are downright dangerous.
To actually have a diver who's dependent on a tank and a regulator in the water with, I don't know, 3 at least, wild beluga whales that are clearly not trained to interact with him appropriately. I get the feeling they just don't realize that this guy is actually in danger.
Like in serious danger, potentially.
Oh, yeah.
While posing as marine park developers, we were given a behind-the-scenes tour of one of China's aquariums. During it, the general manager here confirms that one of its cleaners almost died.
你看这个亚克力刮痕有没有？他那天把那个训练师清水池的就这样推到玻璃，然后磨。
The manager says the beluga was plain, but it almost killed the man.
你几公斤？71。71。他1000到800公斤。所以他跟你玩的时候，他不知道轻重嘛。对。对。他在玩，对吗？对，他在跟你玩啊，他觉得就是跟你玩，所有的玩具就是人最好玩，只是他用力一点你会怕，然后你就挣扎，他就以为你在跟他玩更好玩，越来越用力，你就咬到了。
那个人没事吧？
没有，一定会受伤的，没什么，一定会受伤的。
He says the aquarium doesn't insure employees because due to the high risk, premiums are too expensive.
安全是真的是危险是一定有的啦，做什么事情都会有那个。
有多严重？
你不能说有多严重。我有看过那个，就是像我说的空中飞人，然后飞到看台去的，医院住了2年啊。就脊椎骨啊，脊椎骨就折啦、
有没有听过？
其实在中国以外，不是在我们馆以外，其实在中国也有啊。 主持人掉到水里面，主持人不会游泳就淹死了。
真的是啊！
所以我要求我们所有主持人至少不能淹死啊。
These are wild animals, and according to the manager, caging them in confined spaces can lead to hyper-aggressive behavior. Dangerous not just to their carers, but to other animals. Here, researchers film a dolphin attacking another for hours on end. Former trainer Ah Bing says he witnessed a dolphin bullied so much, its only escape was to jump out of the tank, an action that would have led to its own death.
当时有一个小海豚非常调皮，它就经常被那些大海豚打，然后打完之后，它就是没办法了，逼到自己离开水里面，跳到了岸上，在岸上面趴着，我们怎么推它都不下去。
But despite concerns over animal and employee health, marine parks have long argued they serve a valuable purpose, educating the public about marine life. But Naomi isn't convinced.
It really is completely ludicrous for them to argue that you have to see the animal in the flesh to care about it. If that line of logic is true, then 90% of the species in this world are doomed because they aren't in captivity. And what 8-year-old have you ever met who isn't totally jazzed by dinosaurs? And I don't think they've ever seen a live one.
What experts like Naomi know is that with the growing demand from China's marine parks, the ocean's wildlife is under greater threat than ever. One of the most majestic and sought-after animals is the orca, also known as the killer whale. In this rare vision off the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia, fishermen were filmed netting orcas for marine theme parks. It is one of the only places in the world that still allows such captures.
It's devastating to orca populations because they're so tightly bonded to family, they are so social, they're so intelligent, they're so cultural, that if you just come in a slave raid and remove, 3 or 4 babies, and the mothers are screaming, and that's what happens. They're trying to protect their offspring while these capture operators come in and cut them out and put them in a corral, and it's chaos, it's trauma.
Earlier this year, the Russian government approved the capture of 26 more orcas, destined for the Chinese market. While once popular across the world, most orca shows, like this one at SeaWorld in Florida, have been stopped after widespread condemnation and the deaths of trainers. But in China, it's a different story. They're gearing up for orca shows. One of China's largest aquariums has released footage of orcas being trained in their facility. A secretly recorded conversation with one of China's largest animal importers explains why they're so highly sought after.
虎鲸应该是国内海洋馆的一个标志了。如果想做大，没有虎鲸，那你就算不上大。就是啊。对，现在这个虎鲸是未来海洋馆的一个重要标志。这个怎么说呢？有虎鲸的海洋馆应该是海洋馆领域最高级的。
According to government import papers, China's marine parks have been bringing in orcas since 2012. Despite this, none have been put on display. The aquarium manager we met with tells us the holdup is the fear of bad publicity.
为什么大家都不动？对，因为它的风险太大。你只要一整出来的时候，那个国际的保育团体就一定第一个拿你当箭靶。哦。然后你如果是条件各方面弄得不好的话，你绝对被人家 K 惨的。你可能你不会有好名声，你的名声可能就不好了。
Marine mammal scientist Naomi Rose hopes orcas will never be on display in China. And she says the key lies in changing public perception.
That has to be the hope. The hope has to be that China and Russia even can move along the same societal trajectory, the same growth in self-awareness and in public awareness and in empathy to finally get to the point where, oh, this is wrong.
When you see animals like these in their natural habitat, it's clear how highly intelligent and highly social they are. Once you know that, Naomi believes it's very hard to accept there's a place for them cooped up behind glass. Instead, she says, they should be left free to roam the blue oceans.